Lions have struggled to contain running quarterbacks this season. They rank next to last, allowing more than 6 yards per rush to quarterbacks, and only the Jets and Cowboys allowed more rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels has run for 927 yards this season, including the playoffs. And by the way, that was breaking an NFL rookie record, formerly held by another Washington quarterback, Robert Griffin III, in 2012. Here's Lions coach Dan Campbell on defending mobile quarterbacks.
I know this, running quarterbacks are hard. They're hard to defend. And somebody tells you that we don't handle running quarterbacks very well. Well, tell me the team that does. And I'm not going to name a team because then somebody will come back and say, why did you name that team? You're trying to deal with a guy like this over there. You know, they're not easy to stop, and there's a reason for that. Look, we know we got our hands full, but we're going to have a plan in place. AG's going to have a hell of a plan. And you know what? He may make a run. He may pop a run or two. That's just the nature of the game and the way that some of these guys are able to maneuver, but that doesn't mean that you win the game.
J-Mac, what have you seen on tape from this Lions defense against running quarterbacks?
Dan Campbell is right. It is hard. When you go against a Lamar Jackson and some of these guys, a Jaden Daniels, you come in as a defender, and it's a brand new plan to stop these guys because they bring something different to the table. And the Lions are a team under Aaron Glenn that they love to play man-to-man. And when you're man, you have your eyes on your luggage, as we used to say it. You're covering your guy. So when the quarterback takes off, there's not a guy assigned to the quarterback. So you see right here, Josh Allen against the Lions takes off. The safety, Kirby Joseph, is the first guy to touch him. This is Anthony Richardson. You're going to see it again. Man-to-man across the board. Tight end and running back both go to the right. The two linebackers and the safety, they both flow that way. So now you have two pullers coming around leading for Anthony Richardson. There's nobody there to see the pullers. You have to have eyes. This is Tampa Bay a week ago. Watch the amount of eyes that are on Jaden Daniels when he pulls this ball. They're running an option. It's him and Austin Eckler, two guys for the 5 defenders of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that all have eyes on Jaden Daniels. So as much as possible as a defense, it can't just be one guy assigned to the quarterback because of Jaden Daniels in space. If you only have one guy out there and there's no edge, he's going to make that guy look silly and make him miss. So for the Lions, a team that loves to blitz, they love to play man-to-man, who do you have that is accounting for Jaden Daniels on every single play?
Yeah. I'm looking at the Commanders' offense going against the Lions' defense, and where I think there's an opportunity is for these running backs for the Commanders. Now, when you watch that same Bills game you pulled up and you saw the success they had both on the ground, but more specifically Ty Johnson out of the backfield in the receiving game, I feel like that's something that you got to try to exploit because what you're going to do is you're going to use pre-snap shifts and motions to have these matchup problems for the running backs and the linebackers. In this one, you're going to have that same man-to-man, and all the defenders are on the same level. They run a pick play for Ty Johnson down the sideline. They even got to that through the shifts and motions to make sure they're in the position they need. Austin Eckler, I think, could be someone to take a look at when you're looking at it receiving out of the backfield. And for that run game, Robinson, those guys have to get going because they didn't give us much last week in the wild card round.
I mean, Pony, the two-back set. I mean, this team runs it. Washington offensively, they run it more than anybody in the NFL. I would say that they have the most success with it out of anybody in the NFL. So I'm in the same thought process. I mean, look at it. They've run 90 plays essentially this year with Pony. Pony is having 2 tailbacks on the field, 2 halfbacks on the field. So you're talking about Brian Robinson and an Austin Eckler at the same time. Almost 700 yards of their offense came this year off that. 7.7 yards per play. So it's not just one of those guys. I think putting both of them on the field, again, a little bit like Buffalo, because if you're Detroit, now Anzalone being back, Anzalone didn't play in that Buffalo game, right? And so there is him being there is a big deal. But if you're thinking about like the combo of Jaden's legs, both broken and designed plays, with having to cover those 2 backs with backers, they present a legit threat to a defense that wants to your guys' point, like play man coverage. Yeah. It's advantage Washington in that regard.
Listen to you. Sorry, Nick. You didn't make the cut.
So, I mean, there's a few things to take out of this. And again, I would love to play the video because they have some really nice breakdowns in there. And one of the breakdowns is showing the Tampa Bay linebackers or the middle of the backfield there, eyes on Jaden. And that is exactly what I speak to when I talk about the chest forward theory, where no matter what you're doing on your defense, if you're in man or zone or combo thereof, somebody has to have their eyes on the quarterback. And that's why in this game particularly, or the Arizona Cardinals game, or, any game the Lions are taking on a, dual threat quarterback, but one that especially uses an RPO system, you have to play contain. You cannot play to sack. You have to play to contain. If you sell out, there was another video that I wanted to highlight, and maybe I can do that tonight if I get enough time, but it was talking about Aiden Hutchinson and in how, he was terrible against the RPO because he would get too deep too quickly. And it was highlighting Kyler Murray, I think, in that video. And Kyler would just squirt around him because he wasn't containing. He was trying to sack. And I think that Aiden's grown a lot. I think he's definitely grown a lot because we've seen him, make some of those plays where he's more contained and he's not just going after the quarterback. But this is a game specifically. You cannot let Jaden get outside. If he wants to have some off-schedule stuff, great. But you're going to have to force him to use his arm. And then that means that our DBs and our safeties and everybody downfield, they should be able to do their job, especially the way that this game is matching up. But the one thing that I really wanted to know in here, when McCourty was talking about, you got to have your eyes on your luggage, right, when you're in man defense, that's exactly the problem that the Lions were facing when, you're in man-to-man, so your eyes are on your receiver, on your assignment, and your chest isn't forward. So that's where we need to have some guys that are playing more of a zone scheme, an alert scheme, or a QB spy that, you've got guys assigned to make sure that Jaden can't get out. And if you start with the edge rushers or the ends, right, defensive ends, I think that's where this defense begins this weekend. Same thing that I said about Minnesota, same similar defense that they need to run with more DBs in the game. But it's a little different because Darnold is not a guy we're worried about RPO with. Darnold was not a guy we're worried about getting, loose with his legs and then being able to still throw the ball downfield, when he gets a window. Is Jaden great at throwing receivers open? He is. And that is one of the things that I loved about his tape in the beginning of, my draft process. He throws his guys open and he puts the ball in an area where it leads them away from the DBs. And they may not get a bunch of yak. They typically don't. But it at least gives them an opportunity to complete a pass. So from that perspective, these DBs are going to have to be sticky. And this is where a zone is going to be a little bit more important to keeping those types of plays limited. There's offensive line. And what we're noticing in that pony that Orlovsky had mentioned, which is a 2 running back set, they're using double chips often. So why would you want to rush the quarterback when you're going to get double and triple chipped, right? You might get double teamed and then double chipped. You might get double teamed, a free release, and then a chip. So that's what they utilize a lot to try to keep Jaden upright. And once his legs start moving and you've already been chipped and taken out of the play, that's where he gets outside. So if you're rushing the quarterback and you're trying to get a sack, they're going to use it against us. They're going to allow you to get in. They may not even block you. The play is going to go the other way. So contain is what I took out of this video. I think
Ryan's still here with us. Matt, it feels like the Commanders they found a way to get it done this season every step of the way. But now they're staring up against the Lions, waiting for them. Can they keep it competitive, at least against Detroit?
I love the story of the Commanders, but I think they're running into the juggernaut up in Detroit. Jaden Daniels was unbelievable last night. I mean, this dude has no pulse, right? He's not even smiling after the field goal doinks in at the end of the game. He just, kind of cold-blooded out there. But I thought he played really, really well from out the gates. I thought they used him well moving around. It's going to require a huge performance from him, whether that's running the football like he did last night, making plays like that, extending plays on the run, accuracy down the middle of the field right here to McLaurin. So I think Detroit's too much for them. Can they keep it competitive? Yeah, I think they can. I mean, there's something about the grit of this team, the toughness. I think Dan Quinn's done a great job of kind of instilling that mindset within his locker room. But Detroit, to me, just has too much firepower. Offense is playing great. The way the defense ended the season, pressuring Sam Darnold, I think they're going to try and have to hit Jaden early, right? And I think Aaron Glenn's going to be aggressive in this ball game. So I think Detroit takes care of business, but it's awesome to see Washington back, winning playoff games, first time since 2006. It was fun to watch last night.
Dan Campbell and crew will be looking to bite Jaden Daniels' kneecaps off in this one.
So Matt Ryan said something kind of opposite of what I'm saying, said something a little bit opposite of what I'm thinking the plan is by AG. Without a doubt, the Lions are always going to be aggressive, but I think that the aggressive nature that Ryan is speaking to is how we're going to get after Jaden Daniels when the opportunity presents itself. So the audio skipped a little bit on this show, and what he had said is he expects the Lions to hit Jaden Daniels early and often, and that is the goal in this game. Rattle him, right? You want to make this dude sore. You want to make him think twice about coming back up, to crossing that line of scrimmage with his legs. So yes, every opportunity you get a chance to smoke this guy, you've got to take it. I don't think the Lions are, going to be like some of these other teams where they're head hunting. I don't think that's the Lions at all. But they're going to take every opportunity they can to hit Jaden Daniels. I just don't think the aggression is going to happen with the defensive ends as often. That doesn't mean that we won't blitz. It doesn't mean that we won't attempt to get a sack. Of course, all of those things are going to happen. But I think that the large majority of this game is going to be controlled by the Detroit Lions being smart, diligent, disciplined, and playing that way the entire game. They have to take their shots when they can get them, right? Take the opportunities when it's presented. But let's not go out of our way at trying to create too much, because that's where Jaden does his best work, honestly. And that's about the last of the flowers I'm going to give that dude. But Ryan says that Jaden needs to be accurate, throwing down the middle of the field. Notice how he said middle of the field? It's because that's where he throws the ball. I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, his pattern has been pretty much consistent all season. I don't know how teams look at this pattern and say we're not going to cover that zone. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm hoping that AG is a little bit smarter than the rest of the league and notices the pattern. Detroit being too much. He's 1,000% correct. This offense is going up against the 30th ranked rush defense. And we've got Sonic and Knuckles back, but most importantly, it's Jameer's game. Montgomery had said that. This is Jameer's game. He's going to do what he needs to do to support Jameer and whatever Jameer needs. He was not, how do I say this the right way? He wasn't impressed really by what Gibbs was doing the last few weeks. He knew that's what Gibbs is, that he's a special player and he was going to be making those special plays. Can they keep it competitive? Ryan thinks that they're going to be able to keep it competitive. I don't know what competitive is. Is that staying within 10 points of the Lions? Is that staying within 3 points of the Lions? Is that making it a game coming down to the last possession? I don't know what competitive really is there or what he's thinking, because right now Vegas doesn't see this as a competitive game. If you think a 9.5 point difference in this game is competitive, I'd say you're wrong.
Would it surprise you if I told you that the Lions being favored by 9.5 was the biggest spread ever in a divisional playoff game?
Oh, I said that yesterday. It is the largest spread. I've never seen another one higher than this. I mean, we don't even see it during the regular season. That's what's crazy, is you don't see these types of spreads in the regular season, but now a divisional matchup, it's just nuts to me. Detroit having too much firepower, we do. Look, if this goes to a shootout, defense shits the bed. Right? The defense doesn't come to play, and they don't play with Anzalone's, or I don't know why I keep calling him Anzalone. Anzalone's temperament, which is
everyone wants to be a dog until you got to do some dog shit.
If they're not picking up dog shit tomorrow or doing the dog shit tomorrow, then yeah, if it turns into a race, well, I think that we have a faster boat, honestly, and I think that we're going to be able to win in the end. Expecting AG to hit Daniels early and often has to be, obviously the plan here. When you get the opportunity, take the opportunity.
The Commanders went on the road and beat a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team with a doink field goal at the end. Still went through. That's all that matters. And they are going to play a rested Detroit Lions football team. Jaden Daniels played his ass off. Jay, do the Commanders have a chance against the Lions?
Let me switch hats for you. All right, here we go. It's autographed by Colt McCoy and Kirk Cousins, and the Robert Griffin one is kind of faded.
Did you scrub that one off?
Let's go. Anyway, yes, they do have a chance. I'll tell you why. Because They play great in critical moments, man. They've won 6 games on the last possession. Jaden Daniels, or last possession, they've come from behind 6 different times. They're never out of it. This quarterback has a great poise and leadership and command of the offense. Kingsbury and Daniels have a great connection right now. And defensively, I like what Dan Quinn does, man. They're not great by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have any first-team Pro Bowlers, but they play great as a unit. They fly to the football. They tackle well. They're sound in what they do. They don't give up many big plays. So, yeah, they have a chance. It's going to be tough because Detroit, we know, is awesome on offense. We know about their offensive line, their tight ends, their running backs, their quarterbacks playing a high level, their receiving core. They got different types. Jamison Williams can go. Amondre St. Brown can work the inside. They're awesome. I get it. And their defense, Meek Robertson is playing very well at corner. He's going to be matched up with Terry McLaurin most likely, and they'll be able to have shut down the passing game probably. But Zach Ertz, De'Ami Brown, Austin Eckler. The thing about Washington I like is they've used different people in critical situations now. De'Ami Brown had some big plays. Austin Eckler had some big plays. Zach Ertz had some big plays. So they have different guys hurting you in critical situations, which will help them come Detroit Lion Day, which will be a hell of a tough task. But I think Washington will stick with them and be a great game.
So I think that here, he wanted to give the Commanders a little bit of credit, but I mean, he's not speaking out of the left side of his mouth either. Other than when he said he thinks that this game is going to remain kind of close. So is there really any?
Well, Richard, we have a final 8 in the NFL playoffs. The Commanders are taking on the Lions. This guy, Jaden Daniels, man, he's a future star, Richard. I mean, we might be talking NFL MVP in the next 5 years with this guy. The way he plays in the pocket and is able to scramble. I mean, he plays this game wise beyond his years. How much of a threat do you think he can be to an injured and battered Detroit Lions team?
It's going to be a challenge because it has to be contain. And some of the things he does, you can't simulate. They're going to have to put a receiver or a DB at quarterback just to give you an idea of the kind of speed that you're going to be dealing with and dynamic elusiveness that you're going to be dealing with at the quarterback position. And it's a little easier when you got tape of your team going against him. You have tape of you dealing with him at times, or somebody, you know what I mean, a plan. And now he has gotten stopped at times. Like, people have had success stopping him, but not a lot, and not lately. And so that's the part that concerns me, is that if they can't consistently stop him and this ends up being a shootout, and just like with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if he gets the ball last and he's only down 3, he's going to win. And that's what he's shown. I mean, I think he has the most fourth quarter first downs and touchdowns of just about any quarterback. And whether it's rushing or passing, like, he finds a way to make winning plays in the fourth quarter consistently, and his team knows it, and his team believes it. So when you have an unwavering belief and faith, it's powerful. It's powerful for a team, and it allows guys to unlock their true potential.
You can do it!